The APS conference has been really great.
APS has been a very big success.
This is a great conference.
I'm really happy to see the room full of African researchers.
I think this conference has been a great success.
It's been a very well attended conference.
We really wanted to start to be able to collaborate with African scientists on bioinformatics and on data analysis. So that was kind of the driving point of this workshop. So we're very excited to have you all.
We had a pre-conference training because this is all about building capacity. In order to build African leadership in conservation, you also have to build people's capacity.
And one of the basic ways that we have of identifying species and characterizing them compared to their neighbors is by developing phylogenetic trees based on genetic data.
Bioinformatics is kind of for tools you use mainly for research. When you are doing research in a bush, you use some kind of statistic to get data. Everything now is done with computer. You come back, you put in your computer, you can just one click and all the data is analyzed and you get the result you are looking for.
So the bioinformatics workshop helped people to improve on how they're collecting data, how they can analyze data from primates in the field, primate research, all aspects.
First day, obviously, we had the official opening by the minister, Professor Kamuntu.
It would be good for, first of all, the opening session to have the minister there to get political will for promoting primate research and conservation and building African leadership in primate research and conservation. So it was important that the Minister of Tourism, Honorable Ephraim Kamuntu, is there for the opening. I have to maybe a little bit talk about how I got into primatology. Maybe, can I go back, all the way back? There was a monkey that used to belong to the Cuban neighbors at the Cuban embassy. So one time I was playing the piano, the monkey came in and played the piano, and then I thought, wow, this is fascinating. So a few years ago, I met Dr. Inzakone and a number of West Africans, and with support from the patron, Dr. Ras Mittermeier, we thought of starting the African Primate Society.
Well, it's absolutely essential that in all of the regions in which primates occur, that the people who actually live in the countries where primates live take responsibility and really develop a capacity to conserve primates. But then it really started to take shape in 2016 when we had a meeting, a Red List workshop looking at the status of African primates. It was held in Rome because that was a convenient location. So I and several others helped to find the resources to make that possible, and it happened for the first time in 2017 in Cote d'Ivoire. So we had, I think, maybe 150 participants. Now, we've got double that number here in Uganda.
Another thing that we've been able to do is to have some coffee. The gorilla conservation coffee is made by farmers living around Bwindi Penetrable National Park. These are farmers who would otherwise be going into the forest to poach, to feed their families. So when we started this social enterprise as a way of also improving community livelihoods, it was great. The community is very happy. We buy it at a premium price because it's good coffee. You're going to get to drink gorilla conservation coffee because the hotel has allowed us to serve it. And if you have a chance, you can visit the cafe.
This conference has been a huge success due to the commitment of many people and institutions. First of all, the government of Uganda.
A recently published article has shown that if nothing is done to reverse threats to primates, humans will be the only primates living on Earth in less than 50 years.
There have been several improvements in the organization of this second Congress as compared to the first Congress, which was the inaugural one in 2017 in Ivory Coast. We have to grow. We have to show that we are reaching maturity. 2 years later, I think that Uganda has been successful in taking this challenge with a brilliant organization of a Congress at the highest standard.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you had invited the Prime Minister, Dr. Uganda, fondly referred to as Ndugu, and we are accepted to come. But he has written a speech which I will deliver on his behalf in a minute.
It would be good for, first of all, the opening session, to have the minister there, to get political will for promoting primate research and conservation and building African leadership in primate research and conservation.
Our commitment to conservation of wildlife is total and is enshrined in the supreme law of the land, the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda.
As Uganda, we are very proud that we have had a very successful second Primatological Society conference with a lot of successes registered in terms of coming together, in terms of resolutions made here for scientists, researchers and stakeholders and donors going out there to ensure that conservation of the primates and nature and biodiversity in Africa is paramount.
It is now my singular honor and pleasure to declare the second African Primatological Society Conference officially open for God and my country.
The rest of the plenary sessions were areas where we wanted people to be inspired by the older primatologists. Professor Vernon Reynolds was probably the oldest person who spoke. He's in his mid-80s.
Now, the Budonga forest has 5 primate species. In what ways has our project, which I began and founded in 1990, in what ways have we assisted, helped, nurtured, was the word I was given, Africans to study at Budonga?
It is extremely important to have African involvement in conservation of primates and in fact conservation generally. In fact, these animals live in Africa. The people who live in the parts of Africa where those wild animals live are the ones who have their lives in their hands.
Learning how all the other countries and representatives of other countries are so passionate about primates and conservation and what we're doing to come together to just change the paradigm of where our awesome primates are headed. That's been the most moving part.
My comment is what Professor Vernon said about saying Africa is where conservation is needed, but all the money comes from outside the country, outside countries. This is a challenge to Africa, to African countries, to African governments, to see that money should not continue to come from outside to preserve the wildlife.
Let me answer or agree with Rhoda, first of all. I was thinking, how would you do it? I think the first thing, if it was me in charge, I think I would look for, if you have the equivalent of Companies House, which we have in UK, I don't know if you do, all companies working in Uganda will be listed, and I would look first of all to see their annual statements to find out how much profit's being made in the private sector. Then ambassadors for primatology should meet CEOs of those companies and say, we've noticed you're making good money at the moment, congratulations. Would it be in the interests of your company for publicity purposes to give some of that money to conservation?
This conference, it brings together students, it's bringing together seasoned primatologists and not just young primatologists. It's bringing those who we refer to as the silverbacks. It's bringing them here. The ones who are learned are impacting on those who are just coming up, and the ones who are right in the middle of their careers are also gaining from the ones who are before and also trying to impact on the ones who are coming up.
So in conversations with John and Charles and Agri, this idea was born that instead of research fees just kind of going into this big pot of money that is used in other ways, we actually decided that we could maybe use the research fees that I paid, and I'd pay a bulk in advance, and we could create opportunities for student training this way. So the research fees that I pay for my group's research then go into a pot where actually wardens can get their tuition funded to go on to higher education.
We now have a new Wildlife Act that has stiffer penalties for wrongdoers, but also requires us as an authority to compensate for damage due to wildlife. We have improved our intelligence, we have established a canine unit, all these geared towards reducing illegal wildlife trade, including the trade in the primates.
Well, Madagascar is of course a very special place and is not comparable to the situation on the African mainland. Madagascar is of course a very unique place because none of the primate species that are found there are found anywhere else. So if we lose primate species in Madagascar, we will lose them everywhere in the world.
So those were all white guys. You're probably wondering who are the Malagasy primatologists then? The people that I showed, of course, have trained a lot of Malagasy primatologists over the years. And this was made possible through collaborations, especially with the Department of Paleontology and Biological Anthropology of the University of Tananarivo.
I was trying to put the message across that primatology as a science can actually help inform decision makers to make a change, to design their policies in a way that primates and other wildlife are actually conserved.
There are approximately 20 prioritized landscapes in terms of great apes conservation in Central Africa.
I'm the president of the Alliance for Great Apes Conservation in Central Africa. These great apes are the gorillas and the chimpanzees and the bonobos. My presentation was simply focused on the existence of this network. Not many people had known about the existence of this network.
So West Africa primates are mainly characterized by an extraordinary diversity of colobus and guenon. Then, as I said, I would like to emphasize and focus on community-based conservation. And based on discussion that I have with some colleagues in West Africa, we agreed that, first of all, we have a weak involvement of local communities in management of natural resources. What we decided to do in this area is to empower the different communities by developing a green value chain.
We have communities which actually do a lot of ecotourism. Also, we have communities which exploit primates as protein. And also, we have communities which actually hold very strong beliefs and cultural practices on primates.
This is one of the rare opportunities which has given the African primatologists actually an opportunity to speak to the world about what they do and also try to develop their capacity.
Uganda and other East African countries, wildlife tourism is very, very developed. This is not the case for Central Africa, but it is coming up in places like Nwabale, Ndoki.
Nobody is, equipped with everything, and so working together as communities, regional efforts, national effort, continent-wide effort, with collaboration from abroad, I think there is a huge future.
Today, a lot of South Africans work on baboons because they are the enemies there. They are hated by almost everyone, especially the white farmers.
But so far I'm very glad to be here and I'm really enjoying this country and my experience here. But like I said, I really think that the Galagos are those that are always forgotten by everyone. And in fact, one example I can give you is that It was said many times that you have 15 species of primates in Uganda, and if I count well and I include my galagos, you have 19.
The macaque in Morocco at least is perceived as a revenue generator. There's a lot of unmanaged primate tourism, and there's also the problem that we have in Marrakesh, where the primates are used openly, exploited openly as photo props.
This is a good meeting because it helps African primatologists to network together, to work together for primate conservation, because some of them will be facing similar threats, but we'll be dealing with them in different ways. And those different ways may not work in one place, but may work in another place. So these primatologists can share information, not necessarily that you find published in scientific journals and stuff, but stuff that you do in practice.
De la conférence de l'Afrique pour la primatologie, c'est très important. Consolider notre force pour protéger nos primates, puisque nous ici en Afrique, nous avons beaucoup d'espèces, nous avons encore beaucoup de forêts à protéger, donc il faut consolider, il faut travailler ensemble pour notre primate qui vont disparaître sans nos efforts, sans notre effort de conservation.
The program was put together to ensure that the delegates and the participants get as much of the scientific part of it as well as the more lighter part of being here. So the days were heavy, but the evenings were light. So day one, there's a reception, cocktail where delegates were able to let loose.
We Japanese are always very peculiar people, strange people. Traditionally, we believed that the human and monkeys are very close to each other. And if we see that even Japanese monkeys show very human-like behaviors, we feel very happy. We are very close to these monkeys.
Through my long experience with working with African researchers, one of my dreams was that sometimes the African researchers stand up themselves, not only as assistant of the outer researchers, but stand up themselves to organize, plan, and perform the research by themselves of the African great apes and its conservation.
This is bonobos at Wamba in DRC. This study site was created by Professor Kano in 1973. So he proposed a research the expedition to African countries, and to our surprise, the Japanese government was very, very positive to support this expedition.
The breakouts, they were very, very important for people to then talk more specifically about their scientific research.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do with the IUCN Ape database as a tool for assessing ape status, strength, and conservation effectiveness in ape habitat.
We have about 400 mountain gorillas in Burundi, and this is according to 2011 mountain gorilla census. So what's our goal? The project ensures that all habituated gorillas can be identified and accounted by park staff.
We could not do it in plenary sessions. If you want to sit in plenary session to do, we may spend 2 weeks here. So we need to break out to make groups.
What is coming up from this conference is that if we are initiating conservation project or program, we should include government officials, because they are the ones taking the decision at the national level. We are actually putting in place a network for the red colobus conservation.
The whole purpose of the Red Colobus Action Plan from get-go is to put the light on a group of primates who are critically endangered and needs attention. They are not the kind of species like the gorillas, the chimpanzees, some of the great apes that have gotten attention amongst the primates over the years.
So I'm presenting the work of a student from Ohio University, came and did some research with us. She was trying to look at how tourists and gorillas interact with each other. Annalisa went ahead and did 53 tourist treks in the space of, I think, of about 3 months. So one of the first questions she asked in the research was, is the 7-meter distance rule being followed? And what she found was that in most times, 51% of the time, it was being followed.
APS has been a very productive conference because a number of primatologists have come together, especially the Pan-Africans, which is a very good achievement to see that we make sure that the future of primates on this planet is bright. One observation I've gotten from the presentation is about the habituated gorillas closing in the gap. These being apes, I think the gap is going to be closer and closer because I've seen gorillas come and hold on to clients and all that. So I think we have to think long term. As much as the numbers of the mountain gorillas have increased, I'm seeing that it's a short term benefit that very soon we are yet to have an outbreak.
Okay, thanks for the questions. Starting off with the question of Wako Ronald. There are different precautions. The people are given the guidelines before they go tracking, and all of that can be improved. Some recommendations are also having a foot bath. So before people travel, they put their feet in disinfectant.
The APS, like it has come in, it has actually also built up our capacity right now with a lot of some abstracts we have learned from different presenters, and also with what is going on right now from different presenters. It is actually building our capacity in such a way that we are trying to see where have we been lacking, where information flow, and how do we merge them, so that in effect, sooner or later, I think we are going to come up with another package in such a way that we can now address a very bigger picture in conservation through public health.
We have seen rapid advances in technology, and they have transformed agriculture, mining, and other industries. But we believe that we also need a considered approach to technological advances in support of nature conservation. So yeah, my talk was on conservation technology and conservation policy. And it's based on some of the work I did 2 years ago when I did a research sabbatical, and I had the pleasure or the privilege of working with people from the science and technology environment, and I figured out that they have great development budgets, they do great work. We all use drones and camera traps and acoustic traps, but often they're not aware of the policy framework. So I felt that it would help to look into the UN multilateral agreements and the policy framework, and then to fine-tune the technology so that we are better able to monitor our progress towards achieving our targets.
So how disgust may help enforce these rules? Here are some ideas that I would like to get your feedback on, of some experiments we could conduct at your field site, for example. First, by reintroducing a briefing before those tourists are going to the primates. And perhaps during that briefing, exposing them to, for example, in the visual condition, the tourists could be exposed to pictures of disease symptoms they may get if they do not respect these rules. So I was here to try to introduce a new framework based on the natural parasite avoidance behaviors of these primates that we know are present in a foraging context. And by this I mean taking the example of what has been applied in public health already through the work of disgust. So disgust is a strong emotion, as you know, but it's also an adaptive system that allows us to avoid sources of contamination. It has been proven efficient in public health because it increased hand washing to people who are exposed to visual campaigns such as short movies and pictures of like different disgust elicitors.
Day 2, the dinner courtesy of Uganda Wildlife Education Center. All the delegates went to UWEC, where the dinner was in the floating restaurant.
As we wait for the Nkumba University to come and do us a performance, is Ngamba Island here? Or UWEC team? We need one sound of any primate of your choice.
We are UWEC team and Ngamba Island team.
Thank you so much. Now someone amazing here is going to do for us how the Budongo chimps do it.
Thank you so much. This is Budongo chimps, the way they do it.
So allow me to invite Nkumba University for a short performance. Thank you so much. I hope everyone enjoys.
The highlight of this conference, I think, for me, was the dancing we heard last night in the UWEC dining hall on Lake Victoria. Those guys were so committed, and the women also. The idea of presenting the cutting of the trees and the anger of the ladies when they had no leaves and bushes and fruits, and all their land was lost. And also, of course, rainfall. When you have trees, you get rain. When you get rain, you get water. People need water, so trees should be saved.
Allow me to invite the representative of the Chair Scientific Committee to come and give out certificates to the best poster presenter and then the best oral presenter.
And that is Jonathan Musa. Where are you? Clap for Jonathan Musa.
The title of my poster is Population Estimate of Dana Monkeys, Dana Primates on TY Island, Southern Sierra Leone.
The best oral presenter. His name is Ramananinkira Hina Ruindra Nisarana. Where are you?
When I tell everyone that you're in love with me.
I was really surprised, and I'm very happy about it, and for my country it's really, I don't know how to say it, but I was really I don't know how to express myself about it.
I have the honor to present the first award. This is somebody who I've known for many years and who many primatologists in this room have known for very many years. He's mentored many of us, but he's a pioneer in chimpanzee research. So I have the honor of presenting the first award to Professor Vernon Reynolds, the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Congratulations and celebrations.
Well, it's lovely to be honoured, always lovely to be honoured. I have had a few honours before, but this was the best one. This was a Lifetime Achievement Award, and to be given an award, especially by the African organisers of this conference. I'm not an African, so it shows great generosity to give me that award.
Well, I hate to keep talking when you're all very hungry and you're really all thinking, when will we get the food? Whether I deserve it or not, I don't know, but I don't feel I deserve it.
The next award goes to somebody who is very, very influential. I actually first met him when we had IPS, International Primate Society Conference in Uganda in 2006. People like me were saying you have to help communities, because if you help them, then the primates will be secure, because communities don't have to destroy their habitat. And I was together with Joe Thompson. And this person was saying no, because if you help communities too much, they're going to build up around the area and they'll all gravitate to the protected area and destroy it. So we were really emotional. And then in 2012, I was invited to give a keynote at the IPS in Mexico, and so was he. And this time around, we were closer together. I said, yes, you have to be careful how you do it. And he's like, yes, the community needs to benefit. So this award, Lifetime Achievement, is presented to Professor John Oates. Fortunately, he's not here today, but there is somebody who is going to come and receive it on his behalf, who has received a lot of mentorship from him, Rachel. The next award goes to somebody who has inspired so many people in conservation. She's not here today, but the next award goes to Dr. Jane Goodall. Lifetime Achievement. Yes. This is somebody who has been the right-hand man of Jane. I remember when I was going to London to Jane Goodall's talks, I always used to see Tony. I think that's where I first met you.
I'm very pleased to give an award to someone who's been playing a leading role in primatology. Somebody who makes a difference, who recently joined the African Academy of Science. This award goes to Jonah. Yeah, Jonah, please.
Well, I was so pleased. I didn't expect it at all. I didn't expect it. So that is really from the bottom of my heart. I am really so very pleased to receive this award, this recognition from my friends here in Uganda at this APS.
And what I would like to say is we need more African researchers, primatologists, to show us a good example.
The next award goes to another prominent primatologist on the African continent. Somebody who's been very important in also attracting young people to primatology and building capacities, making African primatology a competitive one. This award goes to Professor Isabire Basuta.
On behalf of Professor Isabire Basuta, most of the primatologists in Uganda were either taught by him or he supervised their masters. So much as he's not around, he is the true primatologist that has been in this game from his undergraduate and up to now. So I'm very happy, and I will deliver this to him tomorrow. Thank you very much.
And we are doing one last award. Allow me to invite again Dr. Gladys Kalemazik-Soka. They are doing it together with the APS president.
This is a very special award. This award will go to somebody who's been very, very important for us since the beginning of our careers, and who inspires us every day. So this award will be given to him for his outstanding commitment and support in building African leadership in primatology. This person is nobody else than the one we call the hero of the planet. He is our heroes. He is the hero of so many generations, Dr. Ras Mittermeier.
Well, that was a great surprise. I was not at all expecting that, and it was a Lifetime Achievement Award. And even though I'm fairly old, I have a lot of work still ahead of me, so it's kind of funny to get a Lifetime Achievement Award, because those usually go to people who are finished with their careers. But to get an award like that from the society, and also along with some of the great pioneers of primatology, Jane Goodall, Vernon Reynolds, John Oates, these people were really key figures in the development of primatology in Africa, and to receive that award at the same time that they did was really very special.
I really, really appreciate it. And I don't want to be the one who stands between you and your dinner. I just want to say the creation of this society, and to see how successful it has become. And it really bodes well for the future of primate conservation and habitat conservation in Africa. So congratulations to both of you and to all the other leaders. Congratulations to all of you. This is really an award for all of you.
Tourism has been seen as a way to, one of the answers to making sure that the primate populations thrive. So we're going to talk about it in this roundtable.
The Primate Ecotourism Roundtable was very important because it's something that affects everyone. It showed people that as primatologists, we cannot solve the problems of primates alone. We need to bring in the private sector, the tour operators who bring the tourists who see the primates, who pay money, some of which goes to conserve the primates in a sustainable way, beyond asking for donor funds. So it was good for us to all get together and talk about this as well.
Dr. Robert, is tourism the answer to sustainable primate conservation?
Your question, I would say yes and no. Why am I saying yes and no? Yes, because tourism can be a very great potential in building funds that would help in the conservation of the great apes. No would be in how is this tourism done? Because tourism, if not sustainable, for example, how many tourists are supposed to be tracking gorillas? Are we supposed to be going? Is it supposed to be 8 people? Can we make them more?
And it has given us opportunities to share the views and reflections backwards on what has been achieved with great apes conservation, but also the challenges. If you notice the roundtable discussion, we had the researchers, the wildlife protection guys, the managers, and the private sector. So we all shared the experiences on how we can improve the great apes conservation, but also at the same time on how we can use the benefits that come from the great apes tourism to conserve these great ape species.
Uganda first hired PR Farms in May of 2016, and these PR Farms did a fantastic job. You can see the numbers of visitors coming to Uganda has increased. But the challenge we've had was that all the journalists that they brought from the UK, from Germany, from the US, covered mainly the primate parks. And you can see the growth. Who I can tell you that they've had probably, they're now in the high season, they're doing over 100%, of gorilla trekking. Chimpanzee has gone up. But of course that has also brought a problem. Even me as a businessman, or my brother here, Brevin, older brother Brevin, will also tell you that yes, it's true that there is a lot of demand for the primate experiences. However, for primates to survive, it is important that we start selling Uganda as a country that you can come to, see no gorillas, see no chimpanzees, but still enjoy. We're sitting next to the second largest freshwater lake in the world, the largest of the tropical lakes in the world. At the end of the day, when you put so much pressure on primates, we're going to see them getting diseases, some of them will start dying and will have problems.
How do you prevent the exploitation of a culture during the cultural safaris?
I'm very proud that we had kids from Yukon, and they came to show us their commitment. Our generation is getting old, but the future generations, they need to take over. They need to take from where we have started and continue it.
Thank you. It's a very interesting question. I'll just give one example of what we've been trying to do in recent years, which is working with our neighbors in Mugahinga. There's an old Batwa community around Mugahinga and the Virungas, and as you know, the Batwa are some of the oldest people of the Central African forests. They are our forefathers, and exactly as you say, we need to remember who they are, remember their place on the earth, and work in a respectful way for them. Instead, in today's society, what's happened is when the parks have been created, little thought has been given to them and they've been thrown out of the parks, and not much resource or support has been given to them. So recently in Gahinga, we have worked in partnership with them to set up a village where they can stay, but secondly, where tourists can go and share their experience.
I work for conservation through public health. We engage community volunteer network, whom we call village health and conservation teams, in promoting both health and conservation in communities living around protected areas. In promoting health, then we are able to reduce disease transmission from people to wildlife, vice versa.
And one thing that we are doing right now that wasn't being done before to try and regulate the tourism sector in Uganda is that we are registering every tourism enterprise. And we think that that's one way that is going to help us to regulate the sector and manage, standards.
This is really a request to primatologists to not be afraid to say that there might not be places where tourism is appropriate.
The first very important top tip is know who you're going to apply with.
There's a grant writing workshop. It's the last activity of the conference where people can learn how to write grants in order to support their work, their primate research work and primate conservation work. And that's being held by National Geographic, which we're very pleased about.
What are the location and boundary? So what is your region? What is that region important? What is it relevant? We have very wide world. There's a lot of competition in grants. So you always have to be thinking, your mission, with my grantees, your mission, if you decide to accept it, when you are writing an application, is to not only convince the reviewer that you deserve the money, but from the very beginning, avoid that the reviewers have any questions. From the beginning, you want to give them all the information.
What I would like to see is that we actually finally act according to the recommendations that we have been given to decision makers for decades based on the research that we're doing.
The future is bright provided all the stakeholders invest both human resources, financial resources and technical capacity in order to ensure that all the reserves and the protected landscape are effectively protected and conserved.
African Primatological Society, it's a great opportunity for African primatologists, and actually it's my hope that it will grow.
So many African people are interested in the development of this African Primatological Society. I'm so excited to see the development of that kind of the atmosphere in Africa.
You cannot just save our primates here in Africa by just being as a spectator. We have to dirt our hand. We have to be a good mother for the rest of the world.
And one of the big lessons learned is that there's an opportunity for exchanging ideas and exchanging expertise and maybe organize cross-site visits.
This is a movement that will continue to grow the robbing capacity and the conservation of Africans as a people.
I'm hoping that now people are really realizing and will implement measures, like concrete measures, to mitigate this infectious disease threat.
The stakeholders are agreeing to this fact that this is the time that we must have rural communities in conservation conversations everywhere.
I think we still need to work together because nothing happens as an island,
The sky is the starting place for APS and for primatology, because if we can start and it's this good, then I don't know what else it would be ahead.
I would call upon to everyone's involvement in conservation. Conservation has no boundary. Everyone is part and parcel of conservation.
The people have doubled. The number of people have doubled. So that's very, very encouraging, and we hope that even in Gabon the number will keep growing. More and more people are getting interested in championing the cause and taking the lead, African leadership in primatology.